Welcome to part 2 on enhancing effectiveness in academic mentoring. In part 1, we defined mentorship in the context of academic setting, recognizing that there isn't consensus in the field, but there are common threads we can identify and things we can glean from different definitions. We explored the benefits but also the barriers to mentoring, and I asked you to consider these in relation to your own institution. Today, we'll be focusing on understanding mentoring frameworks and considering how mentoring functions influence the relationship, either for the positive or for the negative. The learning strategies will include think, pair, share, where I ask you to pause and reflect, and even be a part of a facilitated discussion if you're watching this video with a colleague. The overarching roadmap, as you know, included part 1, today's session on part 2, and will allow you to apply this knowledge and assess your own mentoring practices in part 3. So how can we use frameworks or models to be more effective in our own mentoring practices? Social cognitive career theory is one conceptual model to examine critical indicators. It's aimed at explaining 3 interrelated aspects of career development. 1, how basic academic and career interests develop, how educational and career choices are made, and lastly, how academic and career success is obtained. In thinking about that, we go to this larger model and the visualization of this theory. Briefly, it posits that people are likely to form enduring interest in an activity when they view themselves as competent at it, self-efficacy, and when they expect that the activity will produce valued or valuable outcomes, outcome expectation. You see, these are central to the model. And regardless of a person's inputs, their background, where they come from, regional differences, language differences, religious differences, and those related to their particular inputs, you can find that in your role as a mentor, there are opportunities to maximize the mentoring relationships that increase the effectiveness of the intervention, which in this case is in mentoring. So you fall here in the learning experience, whether that is research training, academic training, clinical preparation. Your role is intervening at this moment to influence and impact self-efficacy and outcome expectations. So this relates to mentorship because we can imagine that self-efficacy and outcome expectations are really formed and contextualized through these 3 interrelated areas. That your role as a mentor helps to influence and enhance their interests, their goal attainment, and the actions that they take to achieve those. So interests foster particular educational and occupational choice goals. So the intentions to pursue a particular career path, which in turn make it more likely that people will take actions to achieve their goals. So they may apply to a graduate program, or they may seek entry into a research career. Their subsequent performance and their attainments produces valuable feedback, not only for them, but for you as a mentor. Has your intervention in this mentoring relationship ultimately been effective? So we can think about the best practices that derive from this framework and some other literature in the field that suggests self-efficacy can be increased through positive career experiences, such as personal experiences of success, exposure to and mentoring by successful role models, positive reinforcement, and positive affective experiences during activities that are related to career goals. Therefore, mentors play a vital role in increasing a trainee's self-efficacy and career success. There are particular areas that this can be achieved. In particular, communicating effectively. Thinking about effective communication that's regular, where you as a mentor are approachable and available and you listen to your mentees. That includes aligning expectations, that early on in the mentoring relationship, you sit down and make sure that your expectations are aligned. That can mitigate future challenges down the road, and it also is an opportunity for you to revisit those expectations throughout your mentoring relationship. Your mentoring relationship should be focused on fostering independence. This idea that one day your mentee will be a mentor as well, and that each step of their career development should be with increasing independence towards their own role as a future faculty member. That it should always address issues of diversity. So diversity can either impede or enhance the mentoring relationship. Oftentimes you may find that your mentee is different from you. They may be a different sex. They may come from a different part of the country. They may have different experiences, lived career experiences as well. So taking all of those into account in your mentoring relationship will help set your mentee and you up for success. And then lastly, thinking about your role in the mentoring relationship, introducing mentees to your vast networks, thinking about how you can foster the development of your mentees as they seek out new positions or career advancement. So these best practices can be understood as well through two primary mentor functions. And if we imagine that in the academic setting, we can imagine it in other settings as well, but principally here in a university setting, we can understand them to be twofold in terms of psychosocial and institutional development. So psychosocial functions really involve things like role modeling, personal support, counseling, acceptance, those psychosocial dimensions that are necessary for individuals as they grow professionally. Career development and institutional functions include coaching, introducing to networks that I mentioned before, increasing the visibility of your mentees, sponsorship, providing challenging assignments, protecting them from adversity. So many of the instrumental functions require a position of influence over resources, opportunities, and advancement. So you can imagine how mentors may provide some or all of the psychosocial or instrumental functions at the same or at different times. And there's evidence to suggest that the more functions a mentor provides, the greater the career and organizational benefits of a mentee. We can draw from literature in other fields, particularly social network analysis, which is found in the management literature, psychology literature, and understand these concepts of homophily and heterophily in the mentoring relationship. So this idea of homophily is that birds of a feather flock together. This idea that we're drawn to individuals who are like us, maybe with a shared background, shared lived experiences. And so when we make up those mentoring committees, those that we reach out to for mentoring support, they may primarily be providing psychosocial support. But let's say for a moment that those mentees, those mentors, actually don't have access to the institutional and career development functions that an individual mentee needs. They may be cutting themselves off from one of the primary functions of a mentoring relationship. That's why the literature really suggests that heterophily is the goal, having a diverse set of mentors that can really provide both of these functions. The idea of those that are like you, but those that are different, to bring forth and leverage these multiple opportunities that exist for both you as a mentee and you as a mentor. So the kinds of mentors you should recommend as a mentor yourself are not just single, but they're multiple mentors. So we gain a lot from one-on-one individual mentorship. But that shouldn't be relegated or isolated to one person, but really thinking about the diverse set of mentors that you can access. That may be in mentoring teams, groups that come together and mentor at the same moment, or it may be just a broad swath of mentors that really provide guidance. Peer mentoring can be a great way to grow developmentally and a wonderful opportunity for you to offer to your mentees to learn from each other as they're navigating these unfamiliar settings. Formal and informal mentors. So thinking about formal mentoring committees, formal mentors as being important, but also those informal mentors that you may meet along the way that can provide crucial support. As I mentioned, diverse mentors, those that come from your field, from a varied landscape to provide a broader set of experiences and opportunities. And opportunities like this to access mentoring training or mentoring programs to further equip yourself with the competencies you need to be effective in this space. So mentoring is collaborative. Mentees are not passive recipients of a mentor's guidance, but rather they engage as partners through reciprocal activities such as planning, acting, reflecting, questioning, and problem solving. This dynamic relationship changes over time, particularly as your mentees gain independence. GROW is a particular framework that you can think of in your own mentoring relationship. It can be used for single sessions or over the course of many years. So you think about it as particular domains that need to be identified early on in order to provide the guidance that mentees need. Identifying a goal, specific and measurable endpoint that a mentee hopes to attain. The reality of their situation. Understanding those obstacles that can keep a mentee from achieving those goals and the options that are available to resolve it. A way forward, thinking always that you're imagining action steps, a way that you as a mentor can advise the mentee, but also for themselves to identify what steps they should take to achieve their goal. There are other resources as well that I would encourage you to explore, those that are included in this course and then those that you can access on the internet. A place that I often go is a fantastic guidebook called Entering Mentoring that is a practical resource for different aspects and stages of the mentoring relationship. The objectives of this session were that by the end of it, you would understand mentoring frameworks and consider how mentoring functions can influence the mentoring relationship. Prior to our next session, I'll ask you to actually do some self-reflection on your own role as a mentor. Here are 10 distinctive domains, but they are mutually enforcing and reinforcing. But there are particular ways that we think about encouraging and fostering the mentor development, the mentee development as well. So I'll ask you prior to the next session to think about those domains, reflect on them, and identify how you have intentionally supported mentees in each of these domains. In the last month or 2 months, can you identify specific examples of how you enhanced your mentee's development in one of those spaces? So I look forward to seeing you in part 3.